Hello, welcome to Nation Talk. My name is James Suprema. I'm your host. And before I get to the news, I want to introduce myself. I am a registered independent, but my politics are libertarian and my philosophy is libertarian. And just because I'm a libertarian doesn't make me a heartless person. In fact, I'm an empathetic person. So, in this episode, I'm going to give my thoughts on the pros and cons of American conservatism and American liberalism, which is not classical liberalism, which is not the liberalism of Thomas Jefferson. It's a more corrupted version of liberalism. But I'm going to get to that a little later on. But here is a story from CNN. Russia banned from Winter Olympics. Decision follows finding that Russia athletes engaged in state-sponsored doping. You know, just by the title alone, I kind of have an issue with the Russian athletes being banned. How do you know that this was an actual study? And is it also just because they're Russian athletes, automatically they're a part of the bad country that supposedly hacked the American election of 2016? I don't know, but let's look at the story, because this is discriminatory in my opinion. Get those ads out of the way. Russia banned from 2018 Olympics. Clean athletes may compete under neutral flag. Now we're with the neutral shit in the Olympics. Not that I care about the Olympics, I don't. But there are people that do, and a neutral flag is, not representing all nations. It just isn't. The International Olympic Committee has banned Russian Olympic Committee from participating in the 2018 Winter Olympics in, oh good Christ, Pyeongchang.
Abbott is in the business of life, creating life-changing breakthroughs in health to unlock all.
Where the hell is that coming from? That was weird. So anyway. Fucking Papa bad. Anyway, Pyeongchang, South Korea, opting to allow clean athletes to participate under the Olympic flag. The IOC announced the decision on Tuesday. That sounds sketchy to me, though. It sounds sketchy to me, like I said before, because that's like, oh, they're Russian, ban them, let's create a reason, oh, they were doping. Just because they're Russian athletes doesn't mean they were doping. If they were, that's bad. But other than that, though, I think this is just discrimination because they're Russian. The IOC's official website, the decision was made after a lengthy investigation into systematic doping under the Russian Olympic Committee. The findings of the investigation were published in the Schmid Report, which confirmed the systematic manipulation of the anti-doping rules and system in Russia. The ROC has been suspended with immediate effect. There will be no accreditation for any members of the Russian Ministry of Sport. Dmitry, I'm probably going to fuck this last name up. Chern Chernsenko, a member of the Coordinates Commission Beijing 2022, the IOC member Alexander Shivzukov has been removed from their post. The IOC reserved the right to bring further measures and will look like into lifting the suspension from commencement of the closing of the 2018 Winter Olympic Games in Pyeongchang 2018. Russian athletes who wish to participate in the 2018 Winter Olympics will have to be invited by a panel and will compete under the Olympic flag. This is discrimination. This is their investigation sounds like bullshit, and it sounds like pure discrimination. It really does come off that way. And I want to stress something here. Since these are Russian athletes being banned, no one is upset about it. But if it were American athletes, Chinese athletes, English athletes, African athletes, people would be in a tizzy fit. But since it's Russian athletes, no one seems to give a shit. I think this is discrimination, pure discrimination. Because this study sounds sketchy. It's just because Russia is the quote-unquote bad country now that anything Russian, athletes, politics, movies, has to be banned. Because people can't handle Russia, apparently. Bullshit. Don't spare me. Don't spare me your attempted good here. IOC President Thomas Bach addressed the decision. This was an unprecedented attack on the integrity of the Olympic Games in sport. The IOC EB, after following due process, has issued proportional sanctions for this systematic manipulation while protecting the clean athletes. This should draw a line under the damaging episode and serve as a catalyst for a more effective anti-doping system led by the WADA. As an athlete myself, I feel very sorry for all the clean athletes from the NOCs who are suffering from this manipulation. Working with IOC Athletes Commission will now look for opportunities to make up for the moments they have missed on the finish line or the podium. According to Rebecca R. Roots and Tyreek Panja of the New York Times, the publicist is unprecedented, and some Russian officials have called for a complete boycott of the event. Okay, if there was a study done that Russian athletes were doping, put it in the news. Don't just say, oh, we did a study that says there was doping. Russian athletes are banned. I'm not believing you. Where's your evidence? Where's your, beyond a shadow of a doubt, evidence that Russian athletes were doing this? This is like someone saying, oh, I know someone committed this crime. Where's your evidence? I don't need evidence. They committed the crime. I know by memory. This sounds like discrimination through and through. And the fact that CNN is spreading this anti-Russia propaganda and painting all Russians athletes as dopers is intellectually dishonest and disconcerting. It really is disconcerting. Because next time you hear about a Russian athlete, oh, they're doping. CNN, you should be ashamed of yourself for reporting this story. Where's the evidence for it? You don't point a link to the study or the investigation of what they said was done. You don't link the report at all. You just report the story. Oh, the Russian athletes are banned. No need to look further. They're just banned. That's just disgusting. That's just disgusting that you would do this. I know what you're probably thinking. What? It's in the news, it's true. Not all the time. There are stories in the news that are completely fabricated, and then they have to retract their fabrication and try to save their reputation. I don't believe that the Russian athletes were doping. I think it's just because they're Russian, they're being banned because they have the bad image. But I do have one concern though. Why is it being held in South Korea? Considering all the bad shit stuff that's happening there. Why is it being held in South Korea? Virtue signaling article. John Oliver grills Dustin Hoffman about sexual harassment allegations. Good Christ. Look, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If there's actual sexual harassment, that's a problem. If there's sexual assault, that's a problem. Let it be done in the court of law. However, it seems to be this trend that just because these are male actors, that automatically they're harassers or assaulters, so on and so forth, when sometimes the allegations are not true. Sometimes the accused is innocent, sometimes the accuser is guilty, and vice versa. Dustin Hoffman and Last Week Tonight host John Oliver got into a heated discussion Monday night when Oliver brought up recent allegations of sexual harassment against the actor, which I don't believe, by the way. Whatever they are, I don't believe them, because Dustin Hoffman is not that type of person. If you see him in any interview, he doesn't come off as the predatory type. The exchange, which was captured on video by Washington Post reporter Stephen Zeechik, or Zeechik, I'm sorry if I screwed up that person's name, took place during a panel moderated by Oliver for a 20th anniversary screening of War the Dog at the 92nd Street Y in New York City, which Hoffman starred in. The poor quality video was edited, and only about 6 minutes of the 1 hour panel discussion was posted online by the Washington Post. Proportions of the video are hard to understand due to the poor audio quality. The comedian host brought up the allegations in front of the panel's live audience. You know, John Oliver, this is an anniversary showing of this film, and you have to, ruin this guy's reputation, or you want to ruin this guy's reputation right in front of his fans, fuck you. Fuck you. What if I, went to your show, asked you a question, what do you think of the rape allegation against you? Even though there's no rape allegation against you, I would say, what about the rape allegation against you? Can you comment on that? How would you feel? Because then your reputation would be ruined, just based on an allegation, even though one doesn't exist. So you're trying to ruin his reputation. The Post reports about halfway through the movie discussion, Oliver began to broach the subject. This is something we're going to have to talk about. You have to talk this because Oliver said, it's hanging in the air. Oliver was referring to the recent allegations made by Anna Graham Hunter in an essay she wrote, which published on November 1st by The Hollywood Reporter in a column. She claims Hoffman, now 80, made multiple inappropriate comments and unwanted sexual advances towards her when she was a 17-year-old production assistant on the set of Death of a Salesman in 1985. I don't believe it. I just don't. Hanging in the air, Hoffman said, from a few things you've read, you made an incredible assumption about me. You've made the case better than anyone else can. I'm guilty, he told Oliver. Weeks ago, Hoffman apologized for his alleged behavior in a statement was published in Hunter's essay. I have the utmost respect for women and feel terrible about anything I might have done could have put her in an uncomfortable situation, Hoffman said at the time. I'm sorry, it is not reflective of who I am. Which I do believe him. It is not reflective of who he is. On Monday, Hoffman duked it out with Oliver on stage, where the actor, joined by his fellow Wag the Dog, co-star Robert De Niro, and producer Jane Rosenthal, and director Barry Levinson. According to the Post, Hoffman said during the panel that he has never met Graham. Quote, I still don't know who this woman is, Hoffman said. I never met her. If I met her, it was in a concert with other people. In the video, Oliver called out Hoffman's apology, saying he was angered by the actor's choice of words. It's not reflective of who I am is the kind of response to the stuff that pisses me off, Oliver said, but it isn't a reflection of who he is. If you know Dustin Hoffman at all from his interviews that he's done over the years, that is not a reflection of who he is. It is and then he goes on, it is reflective of who you are. If it happened and you're given no evidence to show that it didn't happen, then there was a period of time while you were a creeper around women, so it feels like a cop-out to say, well, it isn't me. Do you understand how that feels as a dismissal? Oliver, stop with the emotional fucking arguments. When Hoffman says it is not a reflection of who he is, he's telling the truth. It is not a reflection of who he is, and you're saying that's a reflection of who he is. And he's saying, I don't know who this person is. Maybe I met her at a concert. I don't know who she is. I haven't met her. He's being honest. This guy's the most honest person in the web and actually in the world. This guy has a Twitter account. And he posts what's on his mind all the time. He's being honest all the fucking time. But to say this against him, that this oh, this is totally a reflection of bullshit. And just to make an assumption like that is intellectually dishonest. Hoffman replied, "It's difficult to answer that question. You weren't there." He has you. Hoffman also questioned whether Oliver believes everything printed out what his accuser says happened. "Do you believe this stuff that you read?" Hoffman asked. "I believe what she wrote, yes," Oliver replied. "Why?" Hoffman asked. "Because there's no point in her lying," Oliver said. "Well, there's no point in her not bringing this up for 40 years," Hoffman said. He has a point. He has a point. He has a point. If she was so uncomfortable with the situation, why didn't she come out with this 40 years ago? Why wait 40 years, then bring it up? There's something fishy here. And she very well may be lying, John Oliver. She very well may be lying. "Oh, Dustin," Oliver said, putting his head in his hand. "Oh, he pwned you, and you're gonna try to do a virtue signaling response back. I betcha." Hoffman went on to discuss behavior on movie sets, along with some of the movie's more colorful talk and banter that wouldn't have taken place between crews and actors. Hoffman described how his co-workers were a family who sometimes said stupid sexual things that were meant to be funny. He reminded Oliver that the audience that this was 40 years ago. Look, when you have close friends, if you're an actor, you form friendships with people you make a movie with, a play with, so on and so forth. You form friendships with these people, and yes, you do make adult jokes with other adults. What's the fucking problem? What's the fucking problem? So are adults supposed to not make sexual jokes with each other anymore? Are adults not supposed to make adult jokes with each other anymore? Are adults only supposed to do knock-knock jokes with each other now? Because people are so fucking offended at an adult joke? What were adults supposed to do? Act like preschool children around adult conversation? Oliver said, "It doesn't feel self-reflective in the way that it seems that the incident demands. I get no pleasure from having this conversation because you and I are not victims here." Stop with the feeling shit. You're not gonna win an argument when you do feelings. You do an argument when there's fact. And to just have one allegation against someone, with no evidence to back it up except for a person's victimhood story, is not evidence. It's an allegation. It is not a strategic fact. When there's one victim, you gotta be very careful about calling a person a harasser. But when there's 50, that's a different fucking story. 50 victims, plausibility. One person, you gotta be very careful with who you're calling an abuser. CNN reached out to Hoffman and Oliver's reps for comment. Oliver's shows airs on HBO, which along with CNN is owned by Time Warner. Oliver, you gotta stop with this emotional shit. Just because there's one allegation doesn't mean it's true. And if it did happen, it was 40 years ago, and why didn't this person come out with it then? You gotta question that. If you want to be a journalist type instead of a comedian, you gotta ask hard questions. Is this accuser lying? If this happened 40 years ago, why didn't this person come out with it then? Does Dustin Hoffman know this person? And he doesn't. He admits, I don't know this person, so automatically I'm guilty? Good Christ, Oliver. This is not a good image for you when you're just accusing someone based on feelings. And yes, an accuser can lie. Men and women who have accused other actors of sexual assault have lied in the past. Just like people in the non-acting world, there have been accusers who have lied about rape, about sexual assault, so on and so forth. And then when these people come out saying that they lied about it, it makes it much harder for real victims of rape and sexual assault to come out. Or sexual harassment to come out. People have gone to prison who were innocent, who were the accused. And a part of their lives was taken away because someone lied. And yes, that does happen. Just because someone says something doesn't mean they're telling the truth. You don't know if this person accusing Dustin Hoffman is a sociopath or psychopath that always sees themselves as a victim, that always has to blame someone else for their problems. You don't know this person who just wrote this op-ed. It's just an accusation that doesn't have any factual basis behind it. Christ, Oliver. Have you ever heard of innocent till proven guilty, the benefit of the doubt, a principled a quality for most people? When you hear an accusation, doesn't mean the person's automatically guilty. Why do I get so pissed off about this shit? Because it seems to be every guy being blamed for this shit. If there was a female actress accused of sexual harassment, nobody would blink an eye. But since it's a male, oh my God, automatically they're guilty. No. And this is why young men are afraid to marry. This is why young men are afraid to date. And this is why young men sometimes completely refuse to accompany a woman and find out that they're gay. And in fact, gay men have a better chance at marriage than straight guys. And even in the gay community, it's hard to get a date. It really is. In the gay community, if you look at the qualifications of getting a date in the gay community, you have to be liberal. You have to be liberal. You have to be anti-Trump. Not only that, you have to be a virtue signaling person who believes every accusation, even if there's a false basis behind it. That's what pisses me off about all this shit. It's a trend. It's a fucking trend. It's a trend. It's nothing but a trend. And one day, this trend is going to not stop being popular. That people are going to stop accusing all these male actors of sexual assault or harassment. And then life is going to go back to normal. But now we live in some batshit society where everyone thinks they're a victim of harassment, and then they make an accusation when they don't know what harassment is, or when they don't know what assault is. Anyway, so as I said at the beginning of this episode, I'll get to the pros and cons of conservatism and liberalism, American liberalism. Pro of American liberalism. Pro number one, American liberals tried to fight for the good of the people. Pro of conservatism. Conservatives tried to preserve what works in this country. Con of American liberalism. It focuses too much on feelings. Con of conservatism. Conservatives always call someone on welfare a freeloader, even though when they're not. pro of American liberalism. A lot of people who identify as American liberals, like, trying to think of the guy's name, Jesse Jackson, or Chuck Schumer, or Bernie Sanders, or can't think of the guy's name slipping my mind right now. But anyway, those types of people have either fought for civil rights or fought with Martin Luther King Jr. for civil rights. Pro of American conservatism. New York, California, Florida, and Texas all work better under a conservative state governor. Con of American liberalism, they don't gloat about their accomplishments. Con of conservatism in America, conservatives gloat about their failures. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that. See you guys next time.